Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to paint this funny wine lady. I thought this was such a fun picture to sketch, and that's what we're going to do today. The long version of this is up in Critique Club. If you want to sketch along, I'll put a link to that down below in the video description. I am working in a 9x12 watercolor sketchbook. This is the Arteza watercolor sketchbook, and it comes in a bunch of different sizes. It's the kind with the cloth cover, and I really like it. It reminds me of the Stillman and Bird paper that I like a lot for travel sketching. So, and they come in multi-packs, so it's a great sketchbook to get if you go through a lot of paper or if you want to split with a friend. I'm just getting the basic shapes in, like the shape of the face, the wine glass, because that's the focal point, and also the shape of the hand. I really just wanted to have this almost like a loose caricature style drawing, and I just wanted to have fun with it. I am drawing with a Zebra Zensation, not watercolor, just regular colored pencil, but it's a mechanical color pencil that's refillable, and I've been using them quite a bit lately. I'm getting ready to do a review on them, and I want to use them a bit before I do. I'm really enjoying them for sketching. I don't think I would like them so much for doing a complete piece because there's not that many colors, and it's not like a super soft lead. Otherwise, it would break in there because it's a mechanical pencil, but I really enjoy how creamy they are, how smooth writing they are on the paper, but they're not very soft and not really waxy, so I don't find that my paint beads up on them, so it's just kind of fun. I'm refining the nose a little bit here. I want the nose just kind of peeking up over the edge of the glass, and I want the kind of mouth resting on the rim. I just saw this photo with this woman with bright fuchsia lipstick with a big hat and sunglasses and jewels, and I thought, oh yeah, this is such a fun person to draw. And I'm starting off with some really kind of light lemon yellow. It's like the nickel titanate. I think that's how you say it. Lemon, not like the Hansa Yellow Light lemon. It's that kind of almost grayish, real pale lemon. That's what I'm using. I believe that's a Cotman color because this palette has quite a bit of Cotman paint in it. It also has some Grumbacher Academy and some M. Graham. It was my travel palette for years, and I rediscovered it recently, and I thought, oh, that'd be fun to paint with that for a little bit more. So before I got my portable painter, I took that a lot for travel painting, and it's fallen out of a canoe a few times, so it's kind of like painting with an old friend. So I'm using some yellow ochre, I'm using some burnt sienna, and some looks like quinacridone coral, I'd say, to do the cheeks there and to base in the colors for the hand. So pretty much any skin tone, I'm trying to just get a real light base coat on there. I do add a little bit of ultramarine to the mix to kind of darken it and give you the cool undertones, and especially in like the shadows on the hand. You could also do some shadows near the hair in that color if you want, or you can let things dry and go back in later and glaze. I'm doing a very faint kind of mauve color for the blouse, just kind of loosely sketching it in. Now I'm using a really juicy brush, and I'm working on dry paper, but because I have so much paint and water in my brush and my paint is very diluted, I'm able to fill in an area and still get that wet into wet blending, so keep that in mind. This is also a fairly smooth paper, so a lot of watercolor papers are more coarse and rough. The paper in the sketchbook is almost like a mixed media paper, and it works really well for my quick sketching techniques. I am going in with a mix of burnt sienna and ultramarine blue to get some darker tones here. I am getting the nostrils, I'm getting the part of the lips, I'm getting the shadows in the hands, and any place I see that I need that kind of like darker neutral color to define things. I like to go in pretty early with definition, because especially if something complex like hands or the face, because if I'm gonna mess up, I'd rather do it at the beginning rather than do it at the end when I've almost finished a painting. So there's an old saying in business that says fail fast, and that's kind of how I feel with art as well. If I'm gonna mess it up, I want to mess it up when I'm only a few minutes in and not after I've spent like an hour on something. So there's a little bit of advice for you. If you're gonna fail fast, get in there, try stuff on the beginning before something becomes too precious, because once your art gets precious, then it's really hard to take risks and take chances with your work. I'm using the same mix of ultramarine blue and burnt sienna for the glasses, and then I'm adding some mauve into that for the wine in the wine glass for the first layer of that. Now you'll notice I keep flipping my picture upside down And I do that because when I have something symmetrical like a wine glass, I knew I was off a little bit. So by flipping it, I can kind of get a little bit better of a sense. I think it's that line that I put in there is a little too thick and it went off the edge of where my wine glass should be. But don't fret too much because I find glassware to never be absolutely perfect, perfectly symmetrical. So if you're off a little bit, by the time you're done, you're probably not even going to notice. I'm using some yellow ochre to do the jewels and also the rims of her sunglasses, and I'm adding some streaks of that in her hair. I'm also adding a detail in her neck, like the fold or neck up against her shoulder, or up against her, kind of shoulder area, and I'm adding in some shadows there. I'm trying to keep my brush strokes pretty loose because I want this to have a feeling of a carefree summer day. Maybe this lady is meeting a friend for lunch. Maybe she's, I don't know, at the country club, who knows, but she's having a nice relaxing day, and that's kind of the light and fresh, airy feeling that I wanted. I wanted that feeling of summer. You're probably going to see a lot of summer inspired work lately because I've been so cold. Even though this has not been a really harsh winter, I have been so cold this year. I think it's because I don't have the office to work in this year, so I'm downstairs in my basement with no heat. So even with a spacer, man, I know I'm just such a whiner, but it's harsh. I'm finding a real hard time this year dealing with that. I'm putting some shadows in the hair. It was, again, burnt sienna, a little bit of mauve actually, and some ultramarine blue, getting those chunky low lights and shadows. And when you're painting hair, if you can kind of treat it like clumps of hair rather than individual strands of hair, or rather than one big helmet, you will get a much more natural look. Again, just going for the expression. And any colors that I've put in the picture, I will try to streak into the wine glass a little bit because it will kind of cross-pollinate the picture. It will make it reflect the light around it, just make it feel more glassy and more like it belongs. I'm adding some more of the mauve color and a little bit of like a pinker fuchsia color into the wine just to make it a little bit brighter. It's the same color I used on the lips. I believe it was like a quinacridone magenta. And I am kind of enhancing the shadows on the hand a bit. I thought they were a bit pale, so I wanted to pump them up a little bit. And I thought she should have some nail polish. Even though she didn't in the reference photo, I thought that that would be really a nice touch and would kind of give her a little bit more sassy pizzazz. I'm using some white gouache to kind of give the hat a little fullness and also to kind of give you that summer feel of light bouncing off of surfaces. And then I'm just adding a little bit more of the hat color, the shadow color, into the creases in the hat just to give it a little bit more depth. I'm doing a little bit of the gouache on the blouse and on the cuff to again get that highlight going, and then I need to get some highlight on the glass to really make it look glassy. So that's when your glass really starts to come alive, is when you add the highlights. I am working on a glass class, which will be a watercolor class coming up soon. The next couple months, hopefully next month, but definitely within the next couple of months. So I will have more information on painting glass there for those of you that want to dive deep into that subject. So I'm just going in and throwing in a few streaks here and there just to make things a little bit shinier, getting a little highlight in the sunglasses and some streaks in the hair just to kind of gloss everything up and just, I don't know, I just really wanted that light, bright, summery, airy feeling. I also am putting some shine on the jewelry so it will have a little bit more of a glossy appearance. And I realized I hadn't put a band on her ring, so I'm going ahead and doing that now and adjusting my shadows to match the things that I have around them because they started to disappear as I got more strong colors in the jewelry. I was noticing that the eyeglasses seemed a little pale, so I want to make them a little bit darker. And again, ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, that's a dark I've been using, and I went in and did another coat on the glasses minus the highlights to give it a little bit more depth, and then just put a few darker shadows in the hair to help balance it out. You'll do a lot of that kind of fussing and messing around when you're finishing up your picture. A lot of times I switch to a smaller brush so I don't do any real damage. If you can't mess up too much with a small brush. So as I progress, I use less paint and smaller brushes. So if I do end up going overboard, I haven't gone that far overboard and I can usually bring it back. And really, there's not much more to it than that, other than just a little bit of fussing here and there. It was a lot of fun. It wasn't a long paint painting. It took me about an hour, just under an hour, but I found it really fun on a cold winter's day. So I hope you give something like this a try. I will link the reference photo down below if you want to take a stab at it, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. I love to hear what you think about these Sketchbook Sunday videos. I think working in your sketchbook once a week is a great way to improve your skills, and actually the more the better. And here's a look at the finished picture. Thank you so much for watching. Give me a thumbs up before you go. Until next time, happy crafting.